Yeah. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Vijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Vanachari Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Dana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Vanachari Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Hari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Vijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Yamuna Vanachari Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnuhad, Paramahamsa, Parivakacharya, etc., Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Nanta Koti Vaishnava Ki. ISKCON founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Sikha Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadha, Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki. Mayapur Dham Ki. Ganga Maya Ki. Yamuna Maya Ki. Tulsi Devi Ki. Translator book distribution key. Prashadam distribution key. Gopemanandi, Hare Hare. All glories to some of the devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to some of the devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to some of the devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Shyam, would you like to put Prabhupada's book up for him and his classes, please? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 11, entitled, 12, wrong chapter. Entitled Creation of the Kumaras and Others. Text 36. Vidura Uvacha Savai Vishva Srijam Yesho Vedajin Mukato Srijat Yad Yad Yena Srijat Devas Tanme Bruhi Tapodana Viduro Vacha Savai Vishva Srijamisho Vedadin Mukato Srijat Yad Yad Yena Srijat Devas Tanme Bruhi Tapodana Viduro Vacha Savai Vishva Srijam Misho Vedadin Mukato Srijat Yad Yad Yena Srijat Devas Tanme Bruhi Tapodana Ladies, Durvacha Vidura Vacha. Vidura said, Saha, he, Brahma, Vai, certainly, Vishva, the universe, Srijam, of those who created, Isha, the controller, Veda Adin, the Vedas, etc. Mukata, from the mouth. Asrijat, established. Yat, that. Yat, which. Yena, by which. Asrijat, created. Deva, the God. Tat, that. Me, unto me. Bruhi, please explain. Tapadana, O sage whose only wealth is penance. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Vidura said, O great sage whose only wealth is penance, kindly explain to me how and with whose help Brahma established the Vedic knowledge which emanated from his mouth. Please repeat. Vidura said, O great sage, whose only wealth is penance, kindly explain to me how and with whose help Brahma established the Vedic knowledge which emanated from his mouth. So there's no purport, so I'll read the next couple of verses. Text 37. Maitreyo vacha rigyaju samatavakyan vedan pavadi bimukai shastram ijam stuti stomam prayaschittam vyadat kramat. Translation. Maitreya said, beginning from the front face of Brahma, gradually the four Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharva, became manifest. Thereafter, Vedic hymns, which had not been pronounced before, priestly rituals, the subject matters of the recitation, and transcendental activities were all established, one after another. Text 38. Ayurvedam Danu Vedam Gandavam Vedam Atmana Stapatyam Shasrijad Vedam Kramat Pavadi Bimukai. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. He also created the medical science, military art, musical art and architectural science, all from the Vedas. They all emanated one after another, beginning from the front face. Purport: the Vedas contain perfect knowledge, which includes all kinds of knowledge necessary for the human society, not only on this particular planet, but on other planets as well. It is understood that military art is also necessary knowledge for the upkeep of social order, as is the art of music. All these groups of knowledge are called the Upapurana, or supplements of the Vedas. Spiritual knowledge is the main topic of the Vedas, but to help the human being's spiritual pursuit of knowledge, the other information as above mentioned forms necessary branches of the Vedic knowledge. Translation. He also created the medical science, military art, musical art, and architectural science, all from the Vedas. They all emanated one after another, beginning from the front face. Om Gyana Chirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshumuratam Jena Tasmei Shudekane Namaha Nasrapesha Bhadresha Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Nastiki. Hare Krishna. Thank you for all coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class. So Srila Prabhupada points out here that all these different sources of knowledge from the Vedas, military science, musical art, architectural science, etc., medicinal science, they're all important parts of the Vedic knowledge. They can help the human being's spiritual pursuit of knowledge. But Srila Prabhupada points out that the most important of all the systems of knowledge in the Vedas is the spiritual knowledge. So a lot of these sciences, they deal with material knowledge for the, as Prabhupada says, for the upkeep of the social order in society, like the military art, Dhanuveda. There's in the Vedic culture there was always the Varnashram was perfectly intact, and even the Kshatriyas, who were guided by the Brahmanas, the Brahmanical culture, the Kshatriyas had a very important part to play. Their duty was to protect all the innocent citizens from harm, from physical harm, from unruly, unscrupulous elements in society, and also from spiritual harm. Their duty was to protect all living entities from ignorance. They were guided by the Brahmanas, by the Vaishnavas, by the spiritual leaders of society, how to rule not only the human society but all living entities, so that ultimately all living entities could progress in spiritual advancement, could progress to the perfection of the human form of life, which is spiritual realization, realizing one's eternal relationship with God, with Krishna. And all the different varnas and ashrams had a very important role. Even the Vaishyas, that their duty is to produce food, look after the cows, produce food and do business. And the Sudras are meant to do all the hard labour. And the Brahmanas, Vaishnavas are meant to give the spiritual knowledge for the gradual upliftment and perfection of all living beings, especially in the human form of life. So Srila Prabhupada compared these four varnas to the body. The Brahmanas like the head, and the Kshatriyas are like the arms. The Vaishyas are like the stomach, and the Sudras are like the legs. So out of all the different parts of the body, the head is the most important. Now you can have good strong arms and legs, but if you don't have a head, if you don't have intelligence, then you can't really understand how to properly utilize this human form of life. So the Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, spiritual leaders are like the head, to give the guidance, perfect guidance from the topmost aspects of the spiritual knowledge, which is like the cream of spiritual knowledge, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. And the Kshatriyas, just like the arms give protection to the body, the Kshatriyas give protection physically and spiritually under the guidance of the Brahmanas. And the Vaishyas are like the stomach. Stomach, produces nourishment for the whole body, and the Sudras are compared to the legs. So in a perfect working society, along with the Varnas, was the four ashrams: Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. The four ashrams are ultimately meant for spiritual advancement, spiritual purification. So just as if all the different limbs of the body are perfectly kept in order and carrying out their business properly, then the body works nicely and functions nicely. So similarly, in any society where the different varnas and ashrams are perfectly maintained, then society becomes very peaceful, very progressive spiritually, and ultimately the whole society can understand the higher goals of life. The whole society, even the Sudras and Vaishyas in the Vedic culture, they understood that there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the Lord and Master of everything. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktaram Jakatapa Sham Sava Lokam Heshwaram Suridam Sava Bhuttanam Gyatva Shantam Richate. A person who understands that all austerities and sacrifices are meant for pleasing Krishna. That Krishna says, I'm the Lord of all austerities and sacrifices, I'm the Lord of all planets and demigods, and I'm the well-wisher of all living entities. One who understands these things can gyatva mam shantam richate, can attain peace from all miseries. So even the Sudras, and even Srila Prabhupada talks about in the Bhagavatam, even lower class people, even the prostitutes in the Vedic culture, they were devotees. They understood Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They understood that they are all parts and parcels, eternal servants of Krishna. They understood that everything belongs to Krishna. Everything's meant for his pleasure. So this is a devotee. He understands. He's always seeing Krishna everywhere, seeing everything belongs to Krishna. Everything's for Krishna's pleasure. As the Ishopanishad states, Ishivasham idam sa. How's it go? Ishivasham idam savam yat kincha jagajam jagat tena chaktena bunchita kasha svidhanam. Everything animate and inanimate that is within the creation is owned and controlled by the Lord. One should accept only those things set aside as his quota, knowing to whom other things belong. So this is the devotee. He's always seeing that nothing belongs to him. Even his body is the property of Krishna. It's meant to be constantly engaged in Krishna's service. It's meant for engaging all the senses in Krishna's service. It's meant for remembering Krishna all the time. Maharaj Ambarish, the perfect example, Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vindayo Vaichamsa Vaikuntha Gunanavanane. He always engaged his words in speaking about Krishna, glorifying Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He always engaged his eyes in taking darshan of the beautiful deity forms of the Lord, his ears in hearing the glories of the Lord, his nose in smelling the flowers and incense offered to the Lord, his tongue in tasting Krishna Prasad, chanting Hare Krishna, his sense of touch and touching the bodies of the devotees, his mind and always thinking how to glorify the Lord. So he's like the perfect example on how we can be fully Krishna conscious. So the spiritual knowledge, the main topic of the Vedas, is meant for this understanding to help all living entities, especially in the human form of life, come to this realization that we're not this body, we're not Australian, we're not Indian, we're not Chinese, we're not young or old or black or white, woman or man, dog or cat. These are all temporary designations. We are Jiva Surupahaya Krishna Nichadas. We eternally are a loving servant of Krishna. And through this process of taking up spiritual knowledge in our life, especially through hearing and chanting, then we can awaken that eternal occupation, eternal understanding. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sajja Kavanaya Shravanadi Shuti Chetikare Adaya. This pure love for Krishna is within the hearts of all living entities. It cannot be taken away. But when we begin to hear and chant about Krishna, then that love, that dormant love, can come out in any living entity. Just like Prabhupada gives that famous example. You have sticks, there's fire within the wood, but you can't see the fire. But if you're expert, you can rub two sticks together and fire can come out. So that dormant love for Krishna is within the hearts of all living entities. It cannot be taken away. It's our eternal birthright, just like the natural position of the microphone is to emit loud sound, or the natural position of water is liquidity. Sometimes it freezes up in winter. It becomes as hard as ice, especially if you go to the northern hemisphere. But when the sun comes out and melts the ice, the water comes back to its natural position. The natural position of sugar is it's sweet. Chili is it's hot. If you find a chili that is sweet and sugar that's hot, then there's something wrong. So that natural dormant position of all living entities is to render loving devotional service, bhakti, to Krishna. So ultimately all the Vedic knowledge is to bring the living entity to this topmost realization. But the cream of all Vedic knowledge is this Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. These are the most important books of all spiritual knowledge, because they're direct instructions from the Lord and His pure devotees, and direct explanation about the glories of Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes, entourage, all His associates, etc., and His creations. So every word, every line, every page is to do with Krishna and the process of devotional service and how to reach that topmost perfection. And if we neglect these teachings, what's the result? We cannot achieve perfection of life nor happiness. Krishna says in chapter 16, text 23, Yas Shastra Vidimutsrija Vatate Kamakarata Nasasidam Avapnoti. Last line. So he says that he who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. Just like Srila Prabhupada gives the philosophy of the half-hen philosophy, you have chooks, you want the golden egg, but you don't want the botheration of feeding the chook, spending so much money feeding the chook. How are you going to get the golden egg? The farmer thinks, well, too much botheration feeding the chook, I'll just chop off the beak. How will you get the golden egg? So many aspects to the Vedic knowledge. Even we read in the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita things we may not understand, we may not fully accept. But no, we have to accept everything that's described by Krishna and the spiritual master like Srila Prabhupada, the Acharya. Everything is for our topmost benefit. Sometimes the sahajas, they just want to read about the pastimes of Krishna and the gopis. And because they haven't become purified by reading the whole Srimad Bhagavatam and other the most important books of the Vedic knowledge, their hearts are not purified. So when they hear about the pastimes of the Krishna and the gopis, they just arouse their lusty sexual desires and commit sinful activities. So no, Srila Prabhupada said, whether you hear about Krishna with the gopis, whether you hear about Krishna and Arjuna fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and millions of soldiers being killed, it's all purifying. It's all knowledge which can arouse your full Krishna conscious understanding and your full attachment and love for Krishna. So, the Vedas contain all knowledge which is necessary for especially the human form of life to achieve the perfection of life. And ultimately the Vedas are coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead through Lord Brahma. Dhammantu Shakshad Bhagavat Pranitam. The Vedas are originally enunciated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. So Veda means all knowledge, and ultimately the summarization of that, the Vedic knowledge, is to understand the material world, perfectly understand the material world, the spiritual world, and the controller of both, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All other knowledge that doesn't help one understand the nature of the spiritual world, the material world, and Krishna's transcendental name, form, qualities, pastimes, our eternal relationship with Krishna, the real perfection of life, to be engaged fully in loving devotional service to Krishna. All other knowledge that doesn't help one understand this is considered avidya, ignorance. So we see in material society there's so many systems of so-called knowledge, so many big universities, but Srila Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita, where's that university that's teaching the science of the self? The science of self-realization, the science of realizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead and our eternal relationship with Him. There's no science in any university which is teaching this science. It's all avidya, all mundane knowledge. Prabhupada in one lecture said Silpa Vidya. You know, the science of technology, electrician. People may think this is very wonderful. You know, electrician being able to create electricity and, you know, turn on the lights of some big city. But this is silpa vidya, it's just mundane knowledge. And, even in India, Prabhupada says in modern India, they're very proud of producing the bicycles and the, typewriters. But Prabhupada said the Western civilizations produced these things long ago. And in India, they're thinking, we're making advancement producing these machines. But without the spiritual knowledge, the topmost knowledge, what's the result of all this avidya, ignorant knowledge, mundane knowledge, is that people are still so much engrossed in the bodily conception of life. They're still not free from the lower qualities in the modes of ignorance and passion, greed, anger, lust, envy, attachment, taking this material world to be their home, this material body to be themselves. They're taking sense gratification to be the goal of life. Yishatma buddhi kunapi tridaduke sadhe kala tradishuboma ejide yatithi buddhi salalena kahijij janeshva bigeshu sa evakokara. In the Bhagavatam it states that one who takes his bodily bag of mucus, bile and air to be himself, has an affinity for an intimate relationship with his mundane relatives in this world. He takes his place of birth as worshipable, or even goes to a holy place, but he doesn't seek out knowledge from the self-realized souls. He doesn't seek out how to hear from them and how to take their instructions to heart and how to engage in assisting them in their service to their spiritual master and Krishna. But he may just go to a holy place to bathe in the holy places or for sightseeing. Sa eva gokara. He's considered no better than a cow or an ass. We see even the cows and asses, right, in the holy dhams. They're walking around in the holy dham, they're bathing in the rivers. But what real benefit? Some benefit is there, but not nearly as much benefit as hearing from the self-realized souls and taking their instructions into our life, fully embracing their instructions into our life and fully taking up this process of Krishna consciousness. So this spiritual knowledge ultimately is teaching that all living entities are Krishna conscious by nature, and the purpose of life, especially in the human form of life, is to become once again fully Krishna conscious. Just like when you get a machine, like you get this microphone, you get a car, you get a computer, an iPad, along with that machine comes as a manual on how to properly utilize that machine. Now a child may not read the manual and he may think, well, I'll just I'll play swords with a microphone, I'll whack it around, or I'll get a computer and I'll just smash some walnuts. So you wasted thousands of dollars. An intelligent person reads the instructions and he knows how to properly utilize that car or that microphone. So similarly, the Vedic knowledge, especially the spiritual cream of Vedic knowledge, like the Srimad Bhagavatam, is the perfect manual on how we can perfectly make the best use of this human form of life, which is considered a bad bargain, especially in Kali Yuga. It's a bad bargain because we're born into ignorance and there's no spiritual training in society. Most of us grew up our whole education till we became 20 or 30, no understanding whatsoever of our eternal relationship with Krishna. No understanding even that I'm not this body, that I don't die when the body dies. I'm the eternal spirit soul. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, Aschaya vat pastiti kaschidhenam, Aschaya vat bhadidi tataiva chanya. Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe the soul as amazing, others hear about the soul as amazing, and others, even after hearing about the soul, they still cannot understand the soul at all. So most people in Kali Yuga, including us, were like this. No understanding of that eternal soul, what to speak of the Supreme Soul in our eternal relationship, or that human life is meant for self-realization and devotional service to the Supreme Person, Krishna, and becoming purified. When you talk to people about purifying your consciousness, purifying your heart, elevating to the spiritual platform, people think, this is, they think what you're talking about is weird. For them, most people, it doesn't register. It doesn't make sense. That's why Srila Prabhupada said to get people to the platform of understanding this philosophy, they need a heavy dose of Harinam Sankirtan, Prasadam. So this can purify people's consciousness so that eventually when they read these books, they can understand clearly this transcendental knowledge. Of course, Srila Prabhupada said we should distribute these books en masse. This is the most important activity, to distribute this transcendental literature for the benefit of the whole human society, to increase Krishna's family. So, and many people, including many of us, may have got these books and we had no connection with Krishna consciousness or Krishna's devotees. We hadn't taken up the process of chanting. We hadn't heard the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We hadn't taken prasadam. We hadn't associated with devotees, but many people still, they get these books like us, and Prabhupada says even if they read one word, one line, one page, their lives can become perfect. This knowledge is so powerful, even if people don't understand when they're reading, they're still getting purified by making an attempt to just read even one page or touch these books. And this is the Sankirtan movement. By going out and preaching, our movement is a movement of spreading this Krishna consciousness to others, not just keeping it to ourselves. Like Prahlad Maharaj said, I see many saintly people in the Himalayas just interested in their own liberation, but I'm more interested to go to the big cities and towns where people are suffering due to lack of Krishna conscious knowledge and understanding, and bringing them all back to your lotus feet, my Lord. So this is, we have to be in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj, that we're constantly going out and trying to help people to come to this real platform of happiness. Become a happy Hari, right? Chant, dance, feast on Krishna Prasada, hear this spiritual knowledge. Simple process. But anyone out there can also attain this great Anandam Bodhivardhanam, ever-increasing ocean of transcendental bliss and happiness, by being situated at the lotus feet of Guru and Krishna and adopting this simple process. So if it wasn't for many, many devotees, some of the devotees sitting here, disciples of Prabhupada who started this movement in the early days, they went out, they sacrificed their youth, they went out chanting on the streets every day, distributing books, distributing prasadam, and that's why many of us younger ones are here now. Otherwise we'd be still in the gutter of material existence. So we have to be very respectful, very humble, be very respectful to all devotees, and Srila Prabhupada and Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna, who have given us this wonderful opportunity by disseminating this Krishna consciousness movement, this whole process, and enabling us to achieve the topmost perfection, becoming full lovers of Krishna, attaining Krishna Prem in one life, and going back home, back to the spiritual world. This Krishna consciousness, this chanting of Hare Krishna, is directly transported from Goloka Vrindavan, the topmost planet in the spiritual world. Goloka Premadana Hari Nama Sankirtana Rati Na Janmelo Kenatai. This chanting of Hare Krishna is coming from Goloka Vrindavan, but we're so unfortunate we don't have a taste for chanting Hare Krishna. But this is the process. As Srila Prabhupada says, anyone who chants at least 16 rounds on his beads and unlimited rounds off his beads is certainly the greatest yogi and meditator by practicing this Krishna conscious system. So we have to, and this is the Yoga Dham, chanting the holy name. The holy name is non-different from Krishna. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Vasa Vigraha. The holy name of Krishna is absolute, is non-different from Krishna and non-different from his qualities, his pastimes, is all purifying, all good. It's not contaminated by the modes of material nature. So we have to constantly be immersed in this transcendental knowledge here, because in Kali Yuga we're very forgetful, we have very short memories. If we don't constantly come and hear this Bhagavatam philosophy, and read Srila Prabhupada's books and practice Krishna consciousness and chant Hare Krishna, associate with devotees, then very easily we can forget and become covered over by the strong energy of mode of passion and ignorance in Kali Yuga. So therefore Srila Prabhupada created these temples so that every day we can come in the association of devotees. These temples are like replicas of the spiritual world. This temple is as good as like Goloka Vrindavan, because all the activities done here are to glorify Guru and Krishna. Right? Hearing this philosophy, chanting Hare Krishna, worshipping the deities, worshipping Tulsi, Nrsingadev prayers, it's all in connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the ultimate goal of life. So as long as we do all Krishna conscious activities here, like in the morning program, it's action-packed from 4:30 in the morning till 8:30, then prasadam. Then there's no room for Maya. Just like if you have a cup of milk, if it's not completely full to the top, you pour some ink in, the ink will penetrate. But if the milk is right to the top of the cup, you try and pour some ink in, it can't penetrate. So if we have our cups full of Krishna consciousness, our whole being is absorbed in Krishna consciousness, then there's no room for Maya. But if we do leave room for Maya, then as Srila Prabhupada said, you'd give Maya an inch, she'll take a mile. I was listening to one example, Tamal Krishnaraj was saying, Srila Prabhupada gave this example when you're on a train in India. Has anyone been on a train in India? So usually they're pretty packed, right? So if you manage to get a seat, you're very fortunate. But Prabhupada said if one little skinny man comes along and he wants a little bit of room on the seat, and you give him some room, you move over, but then his 10 children come along with a big wife, and they all want part of the seat, then eventually you're pushed off the seat. So this is like giving an inch to Maya. The more we give to Maya, the more we become captured by Maya, the powerful material energy. Krishna says this divine energy of mine is difficult to overcome, but those who are surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So as much as possible we have to become fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness in our own lives, inspire each other as devotees, and give this knowledge to the general society. Srila Prabhupada was always pushing the devotees go out, distribute these books, go out and Harinam Sankirtan, Prasadam distribution. These activities are very powerful. Many people out there are searching, they're looking, and they're ripe for Krishna consciousness. And many of them have had contact with devotees many times over the years, and they just need a little push, more and more. And, some of them can be easily become devotees. Some devotees, they got a book, or they saw a Harinam Party or Rath Yatra, and the next week they moved into the temple. So it happens. And in a country like Australia, we have so much good reputation because of mass prasadam distribution. The other day I was up at Woodford Festival. The devotees from here, Govindas, 7 days, they're feeding like hundreds of thousands of plates of prasadam. And people there are so favourable. They're glorifying the devotees for the prasadam, and they've been eating prasadam for years and years and years. So when you speak to them, they're very receptive. They're very open to hearing this philosophy. Many people going to our restaurants, and their consciousness has been purified, been cleansed so much, so they're very happy to be in the association of devotees. They're very happy to receive books and this knowledge. So we have to go out and look for these people and increase Krishna's family, spread this Krishna consciousness far and wide. Every town and village, right? Lord Caitanya predicted that in as many towns and villages as there are on this earth, my holy name will be preached. So not that we just go to the big cities, but we go to Moolumbar, Yukai, Byron Bay, Mullumbimby, all these little towns. There's devotees everywhere just waiting for the opportunity to get this Krishna consciousness. So does anyone have any questions or comments? Have microphone available? No microphone. Anyway, any questions or comments? Yes, Ram Prabhu. Yeah, that's a fact. Everything. Yeah, many systems of knowledge, material knowledge, but when it's connected to Krishna, becomes spiritualized and becomes a way to serve Krishna. Like many people have professions where they're builders or they're lawyers or doctors or scientists or electricians, but they can apply any of those sciences, material sciences, in Krishna's service and make great advancement. Become very purified, become very Krishna conscious by that expertise, right? So yeah, in that sense, it's anything practically can be applied in Krishna's service. And so many devotees do have these wonderful material abilities and knowledge and training. Just like Mahamantra Prabhu, right? He's a builder. He's built practically all the houses and this temple on the farm over 40 years, and he's still going, still building. So there's a practical example. So when it's done for selfish purposes, then it's a source of furthering our ignorance and attachment and bondage to the material world and attraction to the material energy. When it's done in connection with Krishna, becomes a source of purification, liberation, and becoming Krishna conscious. Like Srila Prabhupada said, if you get a thorn, it causes a disease, but if you get another thorn, you can prick that thorn out and cure your disease. Or if you eat too much curd at the Sunday feast, and you get, especially in India, you get dysentery, then you take curd and another form of yogurt, maybe mix it with some rice, and it cures the dysentery. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mataji? Well, in the human form life, we have more free will. Like Prabhupada says, the lower creatures, lower living entities, they're more just forced to act under their instincts, and they don't have that free will to, act spiritually or act materially. They're just forced to act on the bodily platform, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, right? You see all living creatures, all animals, insects, that's their business 24 hours a day for their whole life. Do you see any of them once coming to the temple and sitting down for Bhagavatam class and asking questions? Maybe there's a few rare examples like His Holiness Janananda Maharaj in his book Animals in Krishna Consciousness. So there's a few rare animals like that. But generally they're just acting on the bodily instincts. But the human form of life is like a springboard where we can act materially against our nature, or we can act spiritually in our eternal nature. So it's a very special form of life. And where only in the human form of life can we make inquiries, like who am I, what is the business of life, who is God, what's my relationship, why am I suffering the threefold miseries, how to get free from these sufferings, and how to perfect my life. So that's why it's very, very special. But still we can benefit all creatures, especially through the loud chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And distributing prasadam to the lower living entities. Was it Haridas Thakur who said even the immovable objects like the trees and the plants can get immense benefit by hearing the chanting of Hare Krishna. Is that okay? Yeah. Yeah, so in their next life, they'll no doubt get a human form of life because they're doing service in this life as a plant. They'll progress, bypass all those other forms of life, straight to a human form of life. Any other questions? See many of you here for the first time. It's nice to see all new faces. Where have you come from? Sydney. You've been before, yeah. I've seen some of you before, but not all of you. So any last questions? Okay, so thank you very much for your attendance in Srimad Bhagavatam class. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Mahaprashadam ki jai, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
महाव्यूहलौ वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुजगौ श्रीजीव गोपालकौ कृष्ण कीर्तन गान नाचन परं प्रेमामृताम्बनिधि धीराधीर जनप्रियौ प्रियकरौ निर्मातरौ पूजितौ श्रीचैतन्य कृपाभरौ भुवि भुव भारावहन्तारकौ वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुजगौ श्रीदेव गोपालकौ कृष्ण कीर्तन गान नर्तन परौ प्रेमामृताम्बनिधि धीराधीर जनप्रियौ प्रियकरौ निर्मातरौ पूजितौ श्रीचैतन्य कृपाभरौ भुवि भुव भारावहन्त्वादकौ वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुजगौ श्रीजीव गोपालकौ कृष्ण कीर्तन गान नर्तन परौ प्रेमामृताम्बनिधि धीराधीर जनप्रियौ प्रियकरौ निर्मत्सरौ पूजितौ श्रीचैतन्य कृपाभरौ भुवि भुव वरावहन्तारकौ वन्दे रूप सनातनौ रघुजगौ श्रीदेव गोपालकौ वन्दे रूप सनातनौ रघुजगौ।
This transcendental vibration by chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare is the sublime method for reviving our Krishna consciousness. As living spiritual soul, we are all originally Krishna conscious entities, but due to our association with matter from time immemorial, our consciousness is now polluted by material atmosphere. In this polluted concept of life, we are all trying to exploit the resources of material nature, but actually we are becoming more and more entangled in our complexities. This illusion is called Maya, or hard struggle for existence, for winning over the stringent laws of material nature. This illusory struggle against material nature can at once be stopped by revival of our Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. This consciousness is the original energy of living entity. When we hear the transcendental vibration, this consciousness is revived, and the process is recommended by authorities for this age. By practical experience also, we can perceive that by chanting this Maha Mantra or the great chanting for deliverance, one can at once feel transcendental ecstasy from the spiritual strata. When one is factually on the plane of spiritual understanding, surpassing the stages of sense, mind and intelligence. One is situated on transcendental plane. This chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is directly enacted from the spiritual platform, surpassing all lower status of consciousness, namely sensual, mental and intellectual. There is no need of understanding the language of the mantra, nor there is any need of mental speculation, nor any intellectual adjustment for chanting this Maha Mantra. It springs automatically from the spiritual platform, and as such, anyone can take part in this transcendental sound vibration without any previous qualification and dance in ecstasy. We have seen it practically. Even a child can take part in the chanting, or even a dog can take part in it.